quick update in the Beetle.
We're having fun converting to electric.
Doogie's been doing some TIG welding, starting to put together the battery bracket for the Tesla modules in the front of the Beetle here. So right now we've got just the base plate on here. You can just see the charger underneath, and we still have to tidy up the wires, of course, under there. So everything, this is just a test fit right now, but you can see the layout that we're going to go for with the battery modules themselves. So there's going to be another bracket that's going to be sitting on top here with some standoffs to give us a nice and sort of a neat looking enclosure here for the two Tesla modules. And eventually we'll have our cables running from the gigavac switch over to our terminals here. We've got the negative most terminal coming from the back there, from the DC to DC, and the rear batteries, which you can see inside the car there. So we're going to run liquid cooling through here for two reasons there. It's not necessarily required for such a small motor or a low voltage motor that we're using in this, but the charger is located here underneath the batteries, and the batteries themselves will generate some heat when they're being charged. So it just makes sense to have a liquid cooling system there in case we have to cool the batteries while they're being charged. We've got the 12 volt wire here and a big loom ready to go, because the regular 12 volt system has to be hooked up at some point as well. And the floor for the Beetle is sitting over in the corner here, still waiting to get finished, seam sealed and painted. And eventually our high voltage cables here will actually run down through the center tunnel of the car, and that's how we'll hook up to the batteries in the back here.
And so you have the other two in the back right now?
Yeah, they're just sitting there right now, and of course Doogie's going to fabricate some aluminum bracketry for the back so that it's nice and solid. And then you can see the two DC to DC converters there. They're running parallel there, and the cabling that you can see over here, that'll also run through the tunnel back to the front, where we can hook it up to the contactor box, which is already pre-wired. So yeah, we're getting a wee bit of progress on the Beetle here, and you can see our J1772 plug here as well, which is nicely sort of integrated into the car. So ultimately what we want to do is have the hood with a setting on it where we can raise the hood and have it ajar, and we've got the fan for the cooling system on the charger, which would have some venting to the atmosphere here, and then the plug itself will be able to plug in under the hood here out of the elements. At the same time we painted the Fargo wheels, Doogie got his Beetle wheels as well, so you can see he's done a very slightly different shade of red, but he liked the red on the Fargo, so we went with the red on the Beetle as well. We're just waiting for the actual hubcap, and it's quite a bit larger than the hubcap on the Fargo, so this whole area will be chrome with the Volkswagen logo. 1963 Beetle project. You see Doogie's got the pan all painted up there. I think the last time you were here it had just been painted and they were starting to put it back together. You can see right here we have the steering rack is all set up here, so the steering actually works in it. It's nice and tight, like it was brand spanking new. Nice steering stabilizer, all the steering components are all set up. We've got the suspension set up. He's got the air lines all set up there because this has got an air ride suspension. Pedals are in position. We've got the gear shifter in position. So we work the way to the back here. We've got the transmission, we've got the drive shafts in, and we've got the airbags here for the rear air ride suspension as well. Yeah, it's pretty nice setup, eh? So what that'll allow Doogie to do is actually set his ride height. So you can set it so that it's sort of a, you know, hot rod style with the wheels slammed right underneath the car, and then when he's driving he can air it up and have a normal ride height, you know. You can see this little bag right here. We've actually just taken delivery of his Orion 2 BMS. So what's going to happen here is when we roll this under the car, we're going to have the BMS sitting under the back seat, and then we've got the cell tap harness, we've got the standard BMS harness, and then we have our thermistor and a current sensor. And all of that sort of stuff is going to run through the side tunnel. to the front where our actual contactor box is. Our charger unit is at the front of the car there as well. So any of the associated wiring will run along this channel here, and then any of the other stuff that goes directly to the controller, etc., will run up to the controller on the firewall at the back of the car. So this is a nice position for it. It's isolated from the high voltage stuff because this is the most sensitive component in the car for electromagnetic interference. So we're going to have the cables running from the front battery through this tunnel here, so it's going to be isolated from the BMS, and the cables will pop up to the back batteries at the back and the motor controller. So this will be nice and separated. It's also environmentally controlled because it'll be inside the cab of the car as well, so it won't be exposed to any of the elements. Just a quick update on the Fargo. You can see we've got brand spanking new wheels and tyres on there.
Yeah, they look really good.
Yeah, those are a nice radial tyre now. They're 8 inches wide as opposed to the 6.5 inches from the original tyres. So we get nice traction.
Yeah,
now,
lots of tread on the ground.
and there's lots of tread, and it makes it a nice comfortable ride now. And the same diameter wheels that we had on the original truck, but it's got a nice chrome dish on there. And then Doogie and I painted them red, so that'll go with the theme with the truck. When we paint it, it's going to be a sort of a teal colour with the red wheels. So yeah, the wheels are done anyway. The rest of the truck's still to go. But one of the other projects we were doing was, if you look in here, that is a Nissan Versa, 2008 Nissan Versa power assist steering. So we'd made some brackets, fabricated some brackets so that we could mount it within the area the space that we had, and it's mounted to a GM standard GM column with a couple of universal joints. So we get universal joints down at the factory Fargo steering box. Then we've got the Nissan Power Assist over to a GM steering column. It's a bit more modern. It has an integrated signal switch and stuff like that, so a little bit more comfortable to drive. And then this power steering unit takes torque information through this little brain, which we've put up here. So this is off a 2008 Nissan Versa as well. So it takes torque information and provides power direct from the battery through a 60 amp fuse and gives us power steering essentially on a vintage truck. But this is a GM style column, so it actually has integrated signal switches in it. So it's a little cleaner than the strap-on system that we had before. This steering wheel, we may or may not keep it. We still have to find the center part for it, but this is off a 1958 Chevy Impala. It kind of matches the colour of the wheels, so I kind of like it. If you can see right here, we don't actually have the running board on this side because we were working up underneath here to actually fit the charge unit. So the charger is installed, it's all plugged in. The charge plug is inside the original fuel filler for the truck. And then what we've done is this little unit here came with the Mazda that we filmed earlier, that little Mazda car, and it looks like originally they would have used this to plug into the actual car and then plug the other end into 110 volt. So you could charge a car from any 110 outlet using the 1772 plug. Well, we don't need that, so we took the guts of it out, put it back together again, and took an ABS ring and epoxied it all together, and that will now fit right inside, and you can see it's a pretty snug fit inside the original gas cap. So what we'll do is we'll actually epoxy that into position inside the original gas filler neck. But what that'll do is it'll act as both a dust cover for the J1772 charge port, so it'll keep all the debris out of there. But once we've got a rubber ring around here, we can actually plug this in, and it looks like the original filler neck on the truck. And we're going to get a new gas filler cap and put the gas filler cap over top of that there as well, and it'll just look like the original filler neck on the original truck. So. Yeah, so I mean, somebody walks past that thing, they'll see the filler neck sticking out, and it'll be like, oh, it's the original gas-powered truck. But the reality is that you just pull that unit out, and then you can plug in your charger now, and it's electric.
Electric, zero-emission vehicle, go green.